What's up, everybody? Welcome to our channel Honest Hockey Takes. I'm Hohen and this is Scott. In this video, we'll be grading NHL teams in the midway part of the season.
Yeah, so we're going to start off here with the Eastern Conference. And what we're going to do for this video is our goal is to go through all the teams in the Eastern Conference and grade them based on how we thought they did compared to expectations that we had for them. So not necessarily going to be like you get an F if you're bottom of the entire league, but we're going to go based on what we expected from them and what is actually happening after the halfway point to this NHL season. We're going to start alphabetically with the Boston Bruins. We gave them, as expected, an A. I mean, this team right now is on pace for the best season in NHL history with the most wins. We did not expect this. If there was an A+ category, I'd be giving Boston A+. It's just unreal what they managed to do. And like we said before, it's a really big surprise considering we didn't know if they were going to make the playoffs this year. So really impressed with how well this team's performed. And guys like Olmark standing on his head all year. It's honestly incredible.
Yeah, Olmark is the guy that really impressed me, having a career year. He looks big in net, looks athletic, very fast. Love the top, that beautiful perfection line, looks absolutely unreal. That game against Toronto was really, really good. But yeah, that team has been unreal. And the next team that we have is the Buffalo Sabres, and we gave them a B. Buffalo Sabres has been unreal with Tage Thompson having a career year. Never saw that coming. I knew he was okay, but I didn't think it was going to be this good. Because he's been so good, Alex Tuch has been good. Jeff Skinner has been good. The only problem is they haven't been able to stop the puck from the net, but recently Luukkonen has looked pretty decent. So we'll see how far he can take it with this team. The defense core is improving. We'll say it's improving, but it could be better. But yeah, Dahlin's having a career year as well.
Yeah, this team has been really impressive to me. The reason I was fine giving them a B grade is because this is a team that we didn't really in our preseason predictions have being anywhere. We had them second last in their division, third last in the East. So we had very low expectations, and they're above 500 at halfway point, so we got to give them credit. This is a team that has been very streaky, but when they're hot, they've been red hot. And Tage Thompson and Dahlin with career years has been really impressive to watch. All right, coming up next, we have the Carolina Hurricanes. And honestly, guys, I can't give them anything other than an A. This team is exactly what you'd expect. They're first place right now. They were first place last year in their division. Just one of the truly elite teams in the league. They kind of do everything well. They got good goaltending from all three. Like Anderson when he was out, the rookie Kochekov played great. Ranta was okay. And then they just got such a good all-around team and a good coach in Rod Brendamore. And this unit just continues to fire.
Yeah, this team is crazy good. They had all these injuries and they didn't even matter to this team. Aho was out at certain points. Teravainen has been underperforming at certain points of the year. Didn't matter. Pacioretty was out. He just recently came back. The defense has been unreal. Like Slavin has been a boss back there. He's been so good defensively back there. And like Scott said, the goalies are playing with third string goalies and still winning a lot of games. Unreal team. And the next team that we have is the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the grade that we have to give him is an F. This team went out and signed Johnny Gaudreau in the offseason, and just that alone increased the expectation of this team. I don't know why Johnny Gaudreau signed there. It's a weird one for us. He could have went to New Jersey Devils, but yeah, the team's not performing well. I know they don't have Zach Werenski since November. That's a big part of it. But Merzlikins has looked terrible, like really bad. Like I did not expect the goalie to look this bad. The team overall hasn't played well. Gavrikov's the only guy to me that stands out in this team, to be honest with you. I know people are going to look to Johnny Gaudreau having a point per game pace and all that, but that doesn't matter to me because like the team's just not. Even with that, it's just not good enough.
No, this team's a huge letdown.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I didn't have them as a playoff team by any means, but I did have them a little higher than this. This is pretty bad, and they're looking like a solid contender to be in the Bedard sweepstakes. It's just been pitiful what they do. Not only are they losing games, but they're getting absolutely pumped. Like they're losing games like 5-1, 4-1, 6-2. Like it's just bad. They can't stop anything. None of their goalies have really looked good this year, and their defenses look pretty horrific. Granted, like Owen said, Werenski's not there. But on top of this team doesn't have a lot of high-end offense. One of the only positives I'd say for this team right now is that the young kids like Chinikov and Kent Johnson have looked like they have some potential, which might mean down the line this team could be a little more respectable. Next up, we have the Detroit Red Wings. Now, for Detroit, I argued with Hohen a bit on this one. We were debating between a B and a C. And I got him up to saying this is a B because you know what? Detroit has been a team that has been in like the bottom 8 teams in the league for the last couple years. And now at half point, they're over 500. I got to respect it. It's better than I expected them to be. I did not have them being over 500 at all. And they're starting to get some positives going, albeit this team is not a playoff team yet, but they've shown signs. Ville Husso has been a good signing for them. When he plays, it feels like they always seem to have a chance. And Dylan Larkin's had a pretty respectable season. Unfortunately, the only things for them that I really haven't liked is that the rookies have had really big sophomore slumps.
Yeah, exactly what Scott said there. I'm not a fan of Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider. They haven't been good at all. I felt like this is they're really hitting their sophomore slump. The reason why on my end, I kind of wanted to give them a C was because this team recently has really looked like really bad in the last 10 games. They just haven't been winning a lot of these games here. But as of right now, they are still above 500. We'll see how that will transcend for the next 40 games. But for now, we'll give them a B. And the next team that we have is the Florida Panthers, and we gave them a D. The reason why we had to give them a D is because they were a President Cup trophy last year. And look at them now. They're not even in the playoffs right now. They had a terrible first half of this season. I granted they did not have Barkov for some of those games, but that's not an excuse. This team was supposed to have all this firing power. I know they lost a lot of firing power with Marchman, and they lost Duclair and all these guys, but they still have a lot of them left on the roster and still cannot score to the pace that they were, or not even close. And Matthew Tkachuk had looked really, really good. The defense, even with the defense, has looked good, to be honest with you, like surprisingly. Like with Montour stepping up this year, Gustav Forsling has looked good. The goalie has looked hot garbage with the exception of, Bob looks garbage, but the other goalie has looked good and bad some games. He's kind of on and off, but Florida needs to play better. In the second half, they want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I was fully along with giving this team a D. This is a team I thought would be like third in this division, and they're nowhere near that. Right now, it's looking like they might not make the playoffs. That's pretty wild to imagine for a team that won the President's Trophy last year. For me, the big difference is they're not getting depth scoring at all. Their depth scoring is like pretty pitiful from their bottom two lines. And even their second line has been pretty bad this year. Guys like Reinhart and Lundell have really not lived up to what they had last year when they looked awesome. And it's pretty much all been on the shoulders of Matt Tkachuk, who's been like the one-man wrecking crew, just carrying this team almost 1.5 points per game in the first half of the season. And like Owen said, without Barkov, this team was really missing a lot. I'm not saying it's an excuse to be as bad as they are, but it's definitely a reason that they are pretty much right at 500 right now. Next up, we have the Montreal Canadiens. And for the Montreal Canadiens, I figured it was deserving that we at least give them a C grade because although they are below 500 and they're not anywhere near the playoffs, this is still a more competitive team than I expected to see by a little bit. Not by enough to give them like a B by any means, but they came out of the gate really hot. Like they were like 3 or 4 games above 500 at one point, which was incredible. Really young roster. I mean, they're rostering Yuri Slafkovsky, Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki. I mean, and then a bunch of other rookies on defense. At one point, they had like 5 defensemen who had less than a combined 82 games in experience, which was pretty wild. Guys like Arbor Jacki and Caden Gooley playing a lot too. But this team has some potential down the road. But for right now, I don't think they're getting any higher than where they are now, which is about 6 games below 500.
Yeah, C is the perfect grade for this team because they play better than expectation. A lot of people had predicted Montreal Canadiens to be like in the bottom of the standings, of which they are, but they've been competitive. They've been super competitive when they came out of the gate. They were beating some good hockey teams. I knew when they had that hot start, I knew that we knew they weren't going to hold that. There's no chance that we're going to hold that past the midway season, and they are falling now. But the team has a pretty bright future. Hopefully they can build on this season. This season's a huge improvement from last season. Last season was a terrible season for them. So I think one thing is very noticeable about the Habs is that they are having fun playing hockey right now. They're having fun playing for this coach. So it's good to see. And the next team that we have is the New Jersey Devils, and we have to give them an A. Like they start out the gate so hot. They were the best team to start out the season, and they have fallen a little bit, but they're still an extremely good team. So they have stood the test of time. They're the real deal. They're gonna be in the playoffs for sure. And led by Jack Hughes. Man, this team's a lot of fun to watch. We saw a game in person see how fast that team plays with tenacity, throwing shots at net. Love this team.
Yeah, it's one of the most complete teams this far this year. I mean, obviously Boston's the best, but New Jersey truly has been shocking. Like, once again, if there was an A+ grade, this team would get it because neither of us had them predicted to be in the playoffs. Hohen had them, I think, like 7th in division. I had them like 6th or something. It wasn't very high, and they've just gone out and proved everyone wrong. It's been incredible, and it's really nice to see. Team is insanely fast and very good as a unit. The defense before the injuries, they recently lost John Marino and a couple other guys, but their starting 6 defensemen were playing unbelievable defensive hockey. It was incredible to watch. I think Ryan Graves and John Marino might have been the best defensive pairing in the league before Marino went down. Something a lot of people didn't expect, and a lot of their offseason acquisitions turned out really well. Next team I got here is the New York Islanders, who I'm going to have to give a B to because this team has really rebounded from last year's poor play. They're above 500. They're pushing right on that spot to get a wild card. Like, they're just outside right now at the halfway point. It's pretty good, actually. And a lot of that comes down to being led by amazing Vezina caliber play from Ilya Sorokin. He might not be the top goalie in the league right now, but he is definitely top 3. And what he's managed to do for this team is keep them in it every night, and it's incredible. And then Matt Barzal, he's had a pretty solid year under the radar, and I've been really impressed. Him and like Brock Nelson just carrying this team offensively when they don't really have a lot of offense.
Yeah, their defense has been good too. That defense core, Scott Mayfield, who I secretly really like, Noah Dobson had a up and down year, but he's overall, I think he's picked up his game recently. And obviously with the Ryan Pollock and all that stuff, that's a good pairing in the back there. You got a strong defense core back there. The goalie is a Vezina caliber, top 3 in the league. And you got some decent offense. Not the best firepower, but because they're so good defensively and good goaltending, they were allowed to win so many games. So, yeah, they're fighting for the playoffs. They're very deserving of the B. The next team that we have is the New York Rangers. And the New York Rangers, we have to also give them a B. The reason why we had to give them a B instead of an A is because we expected them to be better. There's a lot of people had this team number 1 in the Metro division, and they're not there right now, but they have looked much better in the last 10, 15 games, which is good to see. They have a lot of firepower on this team. This team should be easily be able to make the playoffs. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I think they're definitely going to make the playoffs. Like Owen said, we have to change the grade. As a matter of fact, I almost gave these guys a C if it wasn't for about the last 5 to 6 games where they really popped off and started going on a heater. After about 35 games, they were barely above 500, but then they really saved it before the halfway point. And with a playoff spot, I mean, being 3rd, that's not bad. I mean, you're still in the division for playoffs. You don't have to worry about being a wild card. And I'm pretty sure they're not going to finish as a wild card. This team's too stacked. I mean, the guys like Adam Fox is having another really good season. Norris Caliber, even though he might not win it. And Igor Shesterkin has played really well, especially of late. He kind of got off to the year with a slow start, but he's saved it now, and he is really turning it up now as we get closer to the midway point of the season. And this one kills me, guys, but we have the Ottawa Senators, and this is a team I had very high hopes for, but I'm going to have to give them a D. I did not expect them to be this far out of a playoff spot. I mean, they're pretty much just at 500 right now as of halfway point through the season, but man, they have not looked like the team I thought. I thought their offense would be good, which it has been. Honestly, it's been pretty decent. I thought their defense would be a lot better than this, and I thought Talbot would play a lot better too. Both of those things kind of let me down. And obviously, having a coach like DJ Smith is not going to get it done. I think they're learning that now, that is a big thing they got to change in the offseason. They probably have to go out and find a way, way, way more experienced coach than this because these kids are kind of just running around the ice. Some games they're losing 7-0. Like, it's just kind of a mess. They allow so many goals. And I really thought this was the year that Ottawa was going to be a playoff team. So I'm kind of sad.
I'll be extremely shocked if DJ Smith still has his job in the offseason because he's already been in this organization for 3 years now. This is 3rd season on this team, and he hasn't done squat on this team. The team has looked terrible. Like the defense has looked terrible. The Talbot's not playing as well as I expected him to play. But also on top of that, they lost Josh Norris in the start of the season. I think that really hurt them because Josh Norris to me is a very integral part to their top 6 as well. And it's crazy because Tim Stützle's having a good year. Brady Tkachuk's having a good year. The top forwards aren't to blame. They're all playing really well, but it's just that they couldn't stop the puck right now. And the next team that we have is the Philadelphia Flyers, and for the Philadelphia Flyers, we give them a C. They're pretty much almost exactly what we expected them to be. With the acquisition, I shouldn't say acquisition, but with the addition of John Tortorella on this coaching staff, it really make these boys play a tougher style of game, make sure they have better habits in the rink and stuff like that, and has shown that. They were winning some games in the early of the season, which was impressive, but we knew it, like the Montreal Canadiens, they were not going to hold that. They were going to lose it eventually. The team's just not strong enough on paper. I mean, when your top center is Kevin Hayes, there's a problem with that. Yeah, Travis Konechny is playing exceptionally well. It's good to see. But yeah, the rest of the team needs to be better. But that's a future thing for them.
Yeah, so for me with Philadelphia, if this had been 20 games into the season, I would have given them an A. They came out to a really, really hot start. But since then, their next 20 were absolutely brutal. I think they won like 5 of their next 20. And they're firmly below 500 right now. And it's just, they're not going to be anywhere near the playoffs. But we kind of knew that. We kind of knew they weren't going to be a playoff team this year. They're a rebuilding team. What's kind of annoying for them is they're kind of starting to win a couple too many to be in the Bedard sweepstakes, but not enough to be anywhere near a playoff spot. So they're kind of in that dead zone where you don't want to be.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel bad for Philadelphia a little bit. Like Cohen said, the one player who's really stood out and made this team respectable enough for like a C grade is Travis Konechny. He's pretty much their offense, if I'm being real with you. Like, he contributes so much to that team's offense. It's crazy. Alrighty, next up I have the Pittsburgh Penguins. What an up and down team this team has been. We had to give them a C grade, just because we really did have high hopes for Pittsburgh. Both of us had them being a top 2 team in their division this year. We really thought they were going to be really solid, and they firmly let us down. Their performance has not been great. They've been like winning 6 in a row, then losing 5 in a row, then winning 3, losing 6. Like, it's just all over the place. They're very streaky, and right now they're barely in the wild card 2 spot in the East. So that's just not going to cut it for a team that still has Crosby, Malkin, Gunsel, Letang. It's not enough, and they need a little bit more from their goaltending, but they also need a little bit more from their depth scoring, because for the most part, they haven't been getting that.
How much do they miss John Marino right now, hey?
Oh, that was such a bad trade.
That was such a bad trade. Jeff Petrie hasn't looked nowhere as good on this team, to be honest with you, even when he did play. And on top of that, like Scott said, the depth scoring is not there. This is a very frustrating team to watch, honestly. They're one of those teams that, like today, they beat the Anaheim Ducks, but they barely beat the Anaheim Ducks. Like, that's almost unacceptable. Like, this team should be walking over a team like that. Yeah, I mean, you guys got Crosby on the team. You got Malkin. Like, they don't have many years left. You guys better start playing for these guys. Like, Jake Gensel's having a terrible year right now. He's got to start picking it up. But the next team that we have next is the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is an easy A. I mean, now they got Braden Point back, healthy. Man, makes a huge difference. This team looks absolutely elite. It looks so good. Alex Killorn decides he wants to play hockey again this year, because in the playoffs he did nothing. So after getting Anthony Cirelli back from the injury, man, this team looks absolutely crazy. It looks so good. This team is gonna do some damage in the playoffs, and with a huge step up by Mikhail Sergachev this year, has been revolutionary for this team, because they always needed that young next guy up to replace Hedman in the future, and he's going to be that guy.
Yeah, Sergachev has really had a career year. It's pretty impressive, and it's much needed after losing Ryan McDonough in the offseason. This team wasn't the strongest on defense as it was last year, but their offense has come to play, and Vasi looks good again, which is really nice to see. He kind of had a bit of a down year last year in the regular season, but this year he's looked pretty decent. And guys like Brendan Hagel especially has really rose to the occasion. The guy is just below a point per game. He's fitting beautifully with Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point on that first line. He's even got some power play time for most of the year. It's really nice. And Stammer continues to keep going at his even into his like early 30s. He's looked pretty solid. I'll give the guy credit. Not a huge fan, but he's playing really good hockey as well. So that really rounds out their top 6. Next up, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs. And for Toronto, I think, once again, kind of like Tampa, this is a really easy one. I gave them an A. I had them being first place in this division and like second in the East, and they may not be first in this division, but they're still second in the East. So they're right where I expected to be. Give them credit. They're playing really good hockey. If it wasn't for the Boston Bruins being an unbelievably record-shattering team, Toronto would probably be the best team in the league anyway. So got to give their offense a lot of credit for it because, I mean, they're getting so much scoring from those big four. They're earning their money, which is nice. I know it's only the regular season, and a lot of fans will be quick to point that out, but the money is usually paid for big numbers in the regular season, and they're not letting people down. And one guy I just want to call out because, I mean, this guy I feel does never get enough credit is how well Mark Giordano has played for this team. The guy takes such a friendly contract for the Leafs, like $800K, and he has been the backbone of this defense. Morgan Rielly has missed a lot of time, and Giordano has stepped up, one of the few healthy defensemen they have all season, and he has just looked fantastic.
What was the biggest problem going to the offseason with the Toronto Maple Leafs? It was the goaltending. People were questioning about that goaltending tandem of Samsonov and Matt Murray. Man, they look great. They look absolutely really good. This team is very deserving of the A. They're exactly where we expect them to be. Pretty much top team in the league. Pretty much close to the top team in the league. Like Scott said, they're all firing on all cylinders. All the big boys are scoring goals. And Mark Giordano, the defense scorer. Even when Morgan Rielly was out for a long stretch of time, they were able to replace him.
Yeah, they weathered the storm.
Yeah. And the last team that we have is the Washington Capitals, and we gave them a B. Very close to an A even. But this team has really surprised me because I didn't actually have this team in the playoffs. I just had them just miss out of the playoffs because this team I thought is an aging core, which they are. But they're getting healthier, and they're in the playoff spot. It's crazy. And they're comfortably in the playoff spot. And it's so good. It's actually really good to see because I do really like Ovechkin. I want to break the records. I want him to play more games. It's more fun when Ovechkin is in the playoffs. Even though he's old, he's still exciting to watch. Tom Wilson has been revolutionary ever since he came back to this lineup. Having Eric Gustafsson has been really, really good with the absence of John Carlson. Team is just solid.
Yeah, like Owen said, it's so close to an A. If we had a B+ grade, they would have got that. This is my team, and I'm truly shocked. I had the lowest expectations going into this, especially after all those injuries, knowing we weren't going to have Backstrom, we weren't going to have Wilson, and then Carlson got hurt on top of that. Like, I mean, I swear, it's just the most unbelievable slew of injuries to top-tier players on the team. Pretty much it's been Ovechkin and co. Like, just whoever else is there, third-liners, fourth-liners, AHL players, and they've just won. They keep winning. It's crazy. Getting great play from the goaltenders, which you never would have expected. Charlie Lindgren stepped up big and went on a heater streak, won us a bunch of games. Darcy Kemper started to turn it around. And guys like Dylan Strome, who was brought in the offseason, has been unbelievable. Pretty solid fill-in for Nicklas Backstrom, I do say. Obviously not the same player, but he's done a good job. And Connor Sherry especially, really just filling up the top six for the last 6-7 weeks has been phenomenal. Well, guys, that concludes our grading for the first half of this season for the Eastern Conference. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and tune in for our next one tomorrow on the Western Conference.
All right, take care, guys. Bye.